Hello Selenophiles, how are you all? Well, last month we were not able to put up some videos related to moon on our accounts, but now we are back with some great thing to do. This time I am telling you to make your own moon, how to make it, and also we will be looking at some facts as usual and some upcoming missions and their information. Fine. So here you can see I have two papers. See this one. This is the one and this one. So these papers are the printout of a PDF that is given out by NASA, and I will be attaching the link to the PDF in the box below. And I can tell you that here there is not only the way to how to make the moon, but also there is some information that is very much useful. So first, uh, we will make the moon first. How to make it? We'll see that, and later I will give this whole information in the video later in a PPT form. Fine. So first we will just cut these things. See if you can see here there is a small dotted line given, so we have to cut it accordingly, and whole thing. Okay, and here also see, even here we have give. So in this way we will just cut and I'll be ready cutting everything. Fine. So let's do it. Done. Okay, so as you can see I have cut out all the parts that were to be cutted, and here I have all the parts, and also you can see that I have a message here or information. I'll just pick this picture in the PDF next, and here on this part we have the first step of man on the moon. Okay, so what we are going to do is we have to fold this part. Okay, we'll just fold it with the scale. Okay, so you can actually do it with the hand. So just fold it like this, the outer part of this. Okay. So we have to do it like this, all the parts. Okay, and the second piece too, you have to keep in mind that you have to do it on the white side, okay, and not the printed side. You have to do it here on the white side. So just fold this too. Okay, great at work. See, all these two sides are folded. Now we will raise them up. Don't open, you have to just raise it up like a dish or a tray or something like that. So see, like this. Great. Okay, same thing with this one. We'll do it later, but first we'll see this. See, you have a total 6 and 6, so 12 sides on this paper, and of course here too you have 12 sides. You just have to join this, right? See, like this. All you have to do is this. Join it with tape or fevicol or gum or glue, whatever you have. Just have to join this all parts like this to the right. So you have these two parts, one is here and one is here. Also I like to tell one thing is that in the PDF there are two pictures or two, these parts are twice two. So one part is having a dash like this, say. So this is the top part, right? And the part which is not having the dash, it is a, so this one is not having a dash, so this is a down one part, and this is the bottom part, and this is the dash one is the top part, right? These instructions are already given in the PDF itself, so no need to worry much about it. I'm just clarifying it. Right? So we'll glue it up. We'll kind of glue it up. You just put it wherever you want, like this. Put it wherever you want, like this. Okay. So we'll glue it up just. So as you can see, I have just glued both the sides and like this. See, they are like some balls. Okay, and next what you have to do is you have to be patient. You have to wait for this to get dry completely so that this the paper don't come out like this. See, it's coming out. You can use a tape instead of glue. Tape will work a bit better, I guess, and it could be, just make sure it's not visible. Okay, use a transparent tape in such a way that it shouldn't be visible. So I'm just keeping this to dry a bit so that it gets dry, and then we can work on for further processes. Okay, so as you can see, this is dried completely, and now what we will do is we will apply glue here, not on the whole part, only the corners, and then on this corners too, and we'll stick it like this. So our moon will be ready, right? So let's do it. Fine. Apply the glue, 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 glue. Now here the sticking trauma is there, such yeah. See, on both the sides you have you have been printed a letter A. If you can see, I have no idea whether you can see. See how here you have a letter A on one side, and same way you have on the other side. So taking that into consideration, the A should match the other A, and you have to stay it like that. Okay, so the A to A matching will say. So this is how it works. Right, just place it and it will be sticked. So you can just play with it and do whatever you want. Now, for more preciseness, we have been given a strip like this. Don't forget to cut it. So this is actually a stand of this moon. What you're going to do is you have to cut it. It's on the side of the paper where these parts are given. So you have to cut it, and you have to make a small cut over here. See, okay. So and then just stitch it like this, and then apply a bit glue here so that it does not come out and it stays still. Right, we'll apply a little bit, not more, so that it shouldn't come out, right? So like this, yeah. So that's it. And this, See, it is featuring the Apollo, 50 years of Apollo, and we have this moon. It will be standing on this stand. So yeah, not this way, this way. Fine. So you can see like this. So a beautiful moon is ready. And also we have some more information about the Apollo, 50 years of Apollo, and of course about the moon, our main focusing point. So let's see what it is. Hello again. So as promised, we will be learning here about the Apollo missions that were held. Let's see what's there. So the Apollo program. Uh, Actually, the Apollo mission is known for the first mission, that is Apollo 11. But probably people don't know that there were 6 to 7 missions that were held, and that whole bunch of missions together they are called as the Apollo program. So the Apollo program, also known as Project Apollo, was the third United States human flight program carried out by National Aeronautics and Space Administration, that is NASA, which succeeded in landing the first humans on moon from 1969 to 1972. Apollo was dedicated to President John F. Kennedy's national goal for the 1960 of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. In an address to Congress on May 25, 1961, overall the Apollo program returned 842 pounds, that is 382 kg, of lunar rock and soil to earth, greatly contributing to the understanding of the moon's composition and geological history. The program laid the foundation for NASA's subsequent human spaceflight capability and funded construction of its Johnson Space Center and Kennedy Space Center. Apollo also spurred advances in many areas of technology in incidental to rocketry and human spaceflight, including avionics, telecommunication, and computers. So, as we saw, the Apollo program, the whole Apollo program, that were six missions, that whole 6 missions were carried out between 1969 to 1972. And this Apollo program was initially or mostly dedicated to President John F. Kennedy. Why? Because after the Soviet Union sent its first man to the space, that was Yuri Gagarin, after that the United States got into the space race, and at that time John F. Kennedy, in one of his meetings or one of his medial at that time he gave the command, or he said that landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth was their mission. And taking his words into consideration, these Apollo programs were designed and they were funded. Also, the whole Apollo program, that is all the 6 missions, leaving the 13th one, so 5 missions, all the 5 missions brought 382 kg of lunar rock and soil. So from that rocks and from that soil, they were able to do all type of experiments and to know the moon more, right? And this also laid the foundation for NASA's subsequent human spaceflight capability. It means that this was the first mission that took place that was taken place by NASA, and they made it very much important. In such a way, it was such important because it was the first mission held by NASA to put man into space, or man into onto the lunar orbit, lunar surface. So in this way, it laid the foundation for the spaceflight capability of NASA. And also this whole mission uh, took in the fund for construction of Johnson Space Center and the Kennedy Space Center, which both belongs to NASA. Then this also gave their contribution towards the development of technology, rocketry, human space flight, and various other factors like telecommunication, computers, etc. Because from moon to here, the communication should have a very good strength or very good power. So in this way, the telecommunications were developed by NASA and the team to give a very good type of telecommunication to the astronauts. And also the experience that they got step by step increasing the missions. So in that experience, they got new and new ideas to build the rockets, the the suits, the capsules, everything. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. So as it was shown in the last slide, that this was the third carried out NASA's third human space flight. So before that, uh, there took place two projects. Okay, so two projects. First project was Project Mercury, and second one was Project Gemini. So this both the projects took man to the single man, okay, not a crew, only a single astronaut, to the lower earth orbit, or a little bit further than that, not to the moon but little bit further, lower earth orbit, higher earth orbit. In this orbits, they just orbited the earth and they came back. Okay, so let us see what it is. Project Mercury. Project Mercury was the first human space flight program of United States, running from 1958 through 1963. An early highlight of space race, its goal was to put man into Earth orbit and return him safely, ideally before Soviet Union. Taken over from the US Air Force by the newly created civilian space agency NASA, it conducted 20 uncrewed developmental flights using some animals and 6 successful flights by astronauts. So here in Project Mercury, as I read it, it was started from 1958 to 1963. So it was an initially called as NASA's contribution towards the space race that was taking place. So what was happening at that time? At that time, Soviet Union, that is the Russia or the part of Russia, this part, and the NASA or the America, United States, they both were having some cold wars between them, and because of that, they were both getting a big competition in the space race. First man put into space orbit, Earth orbit, was Yuri Gagarin, and after that, this Project Mercury came into consideration. This Project Mercury worked from 1958 to 1963, leaving 7 astronauts on the Earth's orbit. Okay, and this Project Mercury was initially carried out as NASA's contribution towards the space race to that was going up to put the man into Earth's orbit and return him safely. So what was happening here? What's the astronauts? The astronauts were basically selected from the US Air Force. And before putting the astronauts on this into the Earth's orbit, what NASA did was they took up some animals, like there was a chimpanzee, there was a dog, and one more animal. And taking these animals, they put up these flights into the uh, Earth's orbit. So there were 20 Earth crew developmental flights, and next all were crewed. There were 6 successful crew. So here there are two pictures shown below, and here in these pictures you can see that there is the ballistic capsule, that is the capsule. Now we can actually afford 8 to 7 to 8 astronauts going in a single capsule, but at that time, due to less information about the space and all the things, there were only one person who could go into a capsule. So 6 missions successfully carried 7 astronauts, and this whole 7 astronaut group is called as Mercury 7. So they are very much famously known as Mercury 7. So as you can see, there is a ballistic capsule and the astronaut is sitting, and on the right side there is the picture of all the astronauts, those who went to space with Mercury 7 in the project Mercury 7. So this was the project Mercury. Next, this is Alan Shepard. Okay, after Yuri Gagarin, he was the second astronaut to go in space. So, a graduate from United States Naval Academy at Annapolis, Shepard saw action with the surface navy during World War II. He became a naval aviator in 1946 and test pilot in 1950. He was selected as one of the original NASA Mercury 7 astronauts in 1959, and in May 1961 he made the first crew project Mercury flight, Mercury Redstone 3, in the spacecraft he named Freedom 7. His craft entered space but was not capable of achieving orbit. He became the second person and the first American to travel into space, and the first space traveler to manually control the orientation of his craft. So, as written here, he was the first American and the second person to go into space after Yuri Gagarin. And he, as I told before, all the astronauts were majorly chosen from US Air Force. So that he knew he was actually the naval aviator in 1946, and he became the pilot in 1950. So because of his good conducting and operatings of all the ships, that is the rockets and the shuttles, he knew how to do it, and therefore he became the second person to be in space and the first American to be in space. So as the name has, Alan Shepard. Let's see what's next. Next is the information of Project Gemini. So this was a second project taken, a crewed project taken into consideration by NASA, and this actually project was very much notable because it had the EVA, that is extravehicular activity, that is the outer vehicular activities, means out of the vehicle activities taken place in these projects. So this was the first project where the astronauts were actually flying in the space, making the spacewalks and so on. So let's see what it is. Project Gemini was NASA's second human space flight program, conducted between projects Mercury and Apollo. Gemini started in 1961 and concluded in 1966. The Gemini spacecraft carried 2 astronaut crew, 10 Gemini crews, and 16 individual astronaut flew to the low Earth orbit mission during 1965 and 1966. It helped demonstrating mission endurance up up to just under 14 days, longer than 8 days required for a round trip to the moon. Methods of performing EVA without tiring and the orbital maneuvers necessary to achieve rendezvous and docking with another spacecraft. This left Apollo free to pursue its prime mission without spending time developing this technique. So, as I said, the project Gemini was a very notable project because it helped Apollo in many ways. First thing means it gave up the life supports for 14 days instead of 8 days. Secondly, it also helped or the astronauts in the spacecraft, they demonstrated the EVA, that is extravehicular activity, and then they also demonstrated the docking with another spacecraft. It means that when you joined, okay, a single spacecraft or a single satellite or something similar to that is continuously orbiting the earth, and you just go and get joined to that, your shuttle or your spacecraft, you get joined to that satellite. So that thing is known as docking. So this docking was also practiced in Gemini. So therefore this Gemini helped Apollo in many ways, because there was no reason for the NASA to conduct these things again and again, because they have already achieved success in this, and therefore the Apollo mission became a very much easy mission for them with respect to these perspectives. So therefore this Gemini was a very notable one. So also the Gemini was carrying two astronauts. Okay, last mission of Project Mercury carried two astronauts, and initially they carried only one, but later in last mission they carried two, and Project Gemini was actually carrying two astronauts. It started carrying two astronauts. So let's see what's next. Okay, so here we have the whole list of astronauts that had traveled to the moon by Apollo missions, right? So we have Neil Armstrong at the very top, because as he was the first man to go on the moon, to step on the moon, and along with him we have Buzz Aldrin, and down we have the Michael Collins. This Michael Collins, he was in the orbiter, means he did not step on the moon, but he was with them, he was on the orbiter, he was managing up the orbiter. So here we actually have a very long list of people who have already stepped on moon, and they have been very much famous because they were some of few to do the things that normally people don't do. So they were very admired and very much good skilled persons, I believe. So this were all these astronauts who were the part of the Apollo program, the whole Apollo program, not a single Apollo 11. From Apollo 11 to Apollo 17, all the Apollo programs carried maximum 3 astronauts, and these all were the parts of it. So let's see next. Okay, so here we have a little peek in history section. So here in this paragraph, actually what is written or what is saying, that we say when a successful man comes up, behind the back end of that man we can't see much, we can see the front end, right? He is very successful, or he is very rich, he is very billionaire, or he is very famous, or he has many skills, or he has many talent, we know how to use it, we see all the front end things, but we do not know the back end. That is, we do not know his failures much. And even if we know, still we do not know what he has lost in that failures and what he has gained. So in same way, the Apollo program also had some back end things which were known to very small group of people. So that back end thing is been focused on here. So the Apollo mission started from 26 February 1966, 3 years before the first man landed on the moon. Apollo mission started from 26 February 1966. Okay, so here actually what is happening is that the the NASA and the team, the whole NASA team is working to develop the spacecraft for multiple activities like we'll take a baby. So first he learns to roll, then the baby learns to uh, move with a little bit speak, then he learns how to make a crawling movements, then he sits, then he stands, then he speaks. So in this way the Apollo program was also getting developed with next programs. Okay, so let's see what's going. So Apollo mission started from 26 February 1966. In 27 February 1967, that is 1 year after the mission actually started, Apollo 1 mission took place where the three astronauts, Gus Grimson, Ed White, and Roger B. Caffey, were killed during the launch. So, this was the first mission of Apollo to put man on the orbit, okay, or even beyond that if it could be a successful one. So we had Gus Grimson, a NASA astronaut, Ed White, and Roger B. So these three are also shown in the previous slide. Okay, so if you want to know who they are or how they looked, you can just take this video a little back and you can see, because these three are very important of course. So they were killed during the launch due to some fire in the wirings, and this fire took a very much bigger shape in the capsule itself because the capsule was filled with oxygen. So therefore this fire got blasted and they did not have any way to come out because they did not actually know to operate the hypersonic technologies, and they didn't have any way to come out. And until the outer survivor team reached the spot and get them out, they were already dead. So we had this very bad thing happened before the Apollo 11 took place. So it was Apollo 1 in 1967, that is 2 years ago. Apollo 1 took place where three astronauts were actually killed during the launch. Then we had continuous mission like Apollo 3, Apollo 4. We did not have Apollo 2, but we had Apollo 3, Apollo 4, then Apollo 5, 6, then 7, right? So this 3, 4, 5, 6 year in this mission NASA was actually trying to make it mistake right. Okay, they were trying to improve their systems, their technologies, and they were trying to make the shuttle, make the spacecraft, the rocket, everything very efficient for each and every man to come and operate it. Okay, so in this way the 3, 4, 5, 6 were working. They were just test flights. Then Apollo 7 took place where astronaut Valley Shira, Walt Cunningham, and Don Easton for the orbital demonstration. Okay, so Apollo 7, it took three astronauts for the orbital demonstration. like the way Gemini took place, right? Leo in the low Earth orbit. So in same way, the Apollo 7 took 3 astronauts for orbital demonstration, like how the orbit will be. So for that. Then we have Apollo 8, who took astronaut Frank Borman, James Lovell, and William Andrews to the Earth's orbit. So here, this Apollo 8, it took to a bigger orbit than what was achieved by Apollo 7. Then we had this Apollo 8. Apollo 7 just made one orbit and it came back, but Apollo 8 took uh, 10 Earth orbits in 20 hours. Okay, means they took actually 10 rounds around the Earth in 20 hours and then they came back. So this was the speciality of Apollo 8. Then we have Apollo 9, who took James McDivitt, David Scott, Russell Squad to check the portable life support system. Okay, so of course no one wants their astronaut or their man especially to be killed because of some silly mistake. So we had 3 men or 3 astronauts again to check the life support system, portable life support system in space and very near to moon, right? And then lastly we had on 18 May 1969, that was 1 month, approximately 1 month before the Apollo 11 launch, we had Apollo 10, who took again 3 astronauts, Thomas Stafford, John Young, and Eugene Cernan to fly lunar module, that is LM, 15 km above the lunar surface to test the dress rehearsal for lunar landing. So these 3 astronauts were 15 kilometers above the lunar surface in a lunar module, not the orbiter. Orbiter is the one who orbits. We have the lunar module, and in that lunar module we had 3 astronauts, and this whole lunar module was flying 15 kilometers above the lunar surface, and they were actually checking the dress rehearsal for lunar landing, right? So in this way, this were not the failures, but this were actually the plans or the steps, building blocks of Apollo 11, right? These were the missions that were known to very few people, but they were actually the reason, or they were actually the previous step before the biggest step, that was the Apollo 11, right? So let's see what we have next. Yeah, so here we have the space vehicles. We have little Joe, right? This was used to deliver the satellites first. Then on the left side, okay, the space vehicles, it's written there. So first we have the little Joe 2, that was used to deliver the satellites initially, not humans. So above that little Joe, we had the Apollo spacecraft. It means that it was a spacecraft, the same spacecraft was designed for Apollo. Then we have Saturn 1, okay. Then we have Saturn 1B, and then we have Saturn 5. So Saturn 5, if you could see this image very clearly, and I'll zoom it a bit. Okay, I'll zoom it a bit. So if you can see the Saturn 1 here, the Saturn 1 that is used, that spacecraft or that rocket or that booster, the whole booster is situated below the Saturn 1B, okay, and whole 2 boosters are situated below Saturn 5. So in this way, the Apollo rocket, the last bigger rocket, is the Apollo 11 rocket. So this Apollo rocket actually was made up of 3 rockets, that is little Joe, Saturn 1 and Saturn 1B, right? So in this way it had the power of 3 rockets to go to the moon and come back. It also had Apollo spacecraft. We also have the land adapter, the instrument unit, that where the instruments were placed. Then below that we had the Saturn 5, Saturn 2nd and Saturn 1. So in this way we had all 3 boosters, one below the other, to give backups or give the required energy for Apollo mission to be conducted. So, in the right top, we have the lunar module for Apollo mission. You can see it had the three uh, stands for standing, and of course, a very slow kind of fruit is coming down, and then up above the cone shape is the actual spacecraft. Okay, then down we have something called as the first lunar vehicle. Okay, this was the first lunar vehicle. It was the first lunar vehicle. It traveled first time on the moon, and this was developed in, of course, 1969 with the development of the Apollo 11 rockets and boosters. Right, so these are the image which were very much known. Next we'll see some facts. As usual, we are getting up to the facts. So the first fact is that Apollo employed nearly 500,000 people. So what was happening here? If you can see the Apollo 11 or the whole Apollo program, it had so many expenses and it had so many things to be done, uh, more than just sending man to moon. It's not so easy. Even today when we talk about sending people to space, it costs billions and billions, right? And that's why this Apollo program, the whole program, it had so much of cost that it employed really 500,000 people from US. There were there were technological people, technicians, what we call them, called as them. There were technicians, and also apart from technicians there were other people, like the one who will build the vehicle, the one who will prepare the suit, the one who will prepare the food canning and packing and everything. Each and every bind of the Apollo program required different people from different sectors, and due to this requirement this whole program actually employed 500,000 of people. Okay, and in this way, because of this, we can also say that this employment of people, it resulted into getting some good financial conditions for many of the Americans, for many of the US citizens. Again, so next fact is that JKF, that is John F. Kennedy, President John F. Kennedy, floated the idea of joint US and Soviet moon mission. Looking at the cost and looking at the expense of Apollo missions, okay, John F. Kennedy, he was actually in the idea of joining up with Soviet Union, that is the first agency or the first country who sent the man to moon, joining up with them to send a man to space, joining up with them to send a man on moon. So in this way, he was actually planning up to join them so that the expense and also the ideas will be majorly matched up. But this idea or this thought of John F. Kennedy was given out very soon after his assassination. That is, the NASA did not agree to this joining mission, and they did everything on their own. Third one, Apollo suffered its worst tragedy before it ever left the ground. So, I told this that Apollo 1 killed, in Apollo 1, 3 astronauts were killed. So, this fact is about the same. The 3 astronauts, it is Gus Grimson, Ed White, and Roger Sheffield. 3 of them were killed before they left the ground, even before they left the ground. They were about to launch and it caught fire and they died. So this was a miserable fact, of course. Next we have the crew of Apollo 7 won the Emmy Award. So Apollo 7 As seen before, the Apollo 7 crew, or it was the first crew or first mission that took three astronauts together on the low Earth orbit of the LEO. So this launch and this whole mission was actually broadcast live on TVs, televisions, and radios also. So that time this was the first launch actually broadcast on TVs, and therefore they won the Emmy Awards that is given by the television for the very big broadcast. Okay, so the Apollo 7 crew, that was the first crew to go into the LEO, they won the Emmy Award. Next, if we see, the fact is that Neil Armstrong was handpicked to command Apollo 11. If you go to see, this fact is also well known, I believe. uh, Neil Armstrong, that was the first man to step on moon, he was actually not someone who was handpicked, means who was picked from thousands and millions of astronauts that were there at the time. So the first choice of the director of the program was Gus Grimson, who died due to the first Apollo 1 program. And the second choice after Gus Grimson, we had Frank Borman, who flew in Apollo 8 mission, 8 no Apollo 7 mission. So in that mission, Frank Borman, he flew about the Earth's orbit. So he was the second choice, but even he was not chosen because of his age, which was very much high, and he was about to retire. So these both were not chosen, and then they had to choose Neil Armstrong as a commander for Apollo 11. Next, sixth fact, Abra company designed the Apollo spacesuit. So it is actually unbelievable because when it comes to spacesuit, it is not everyday wearing attire, right? We cannot just be like very much easygoing people, like you just take some thread and some kind of cloth and just stitch it and you'll get a spacesuit. No, it is one of the complicated things that were actually built in the Apollo programs. So building of this uh, Apollo program suit was given to the bra company, that is Playtex. Okay, the name of the company was Playtex, and they actually won the design competition which was given out by NASA at that time to design the space suit for Apollo. Okay, and they won it, and therefore they were given the designing contracts. And till now, okay, the Playtex, the section, or the division is which build the spacesuit at that time, it got separated in 1967 from Playtex, and they were operating. They are operating with NASA till now. Okay, till now they are building the spacesuits for NASA. They are designing. They're building the spacesuits for NASA from the very first mission of NASA, right? So this was a very funny fact, I believe. Next, funny and unbelievable also. Next, Apollo 12 was struck by lightning twice during the takeoff. So Apollo 12 was actually the mission which carried also three astronauts, of course. And during the takeoff, what happened after the takeoff? Okay, not during, after the takeoff, when the rockets, or when the spacecraft was uh, not very out of the Earth orbit, Earth's atmosphere at that time, two lightnings got stuck the spacecraft, and it actually broke the wirings of the spacecraft. But and the spacecraft, this mission was about to abort. But what happened was that commander at the time, he managed, or he remembered how to make it up to this situation uh, by doing some technological uh, corrections, and then when he did these things, he just got everything right, and then this mission was taken place, right? So in this way, the Apollo 12, it was about to kill the astronauts, but due to a great skill of the commander, they were saved and they successfully did the moon landing. Next, we had an Apollo astronaut conducted a secret ESP experiment. So this happened in Apollo 15. Okay, this was the astronaut who was actually a psychological who was from a psychological background, and what he did was a short psychic trick that he just took when he was in the Earth's orbit. He took some cards, okay, and he just placed them before his eyes, and he asked the crew that was on the Earth, okay, the ground system, he asked the ground system to guess that cards what was in his mind. So he did it 200 times, and 51 times the cards were guessed right by the ground system, okay. So in this way, this was a very secret experiment that is called as, and this this astronaut, he continued working on the same experiment of, he was actually working on the experiment to see if we can transfer the thoughts in the space, okay, the thought of a human in space to the thought of human in ground, on ground, right? So he was working on that experiment and he successfully carried out it. After the carrying out of this experiment, he said that the number was unexpectedly more, exceeding his expectations. So this was a short uh, experiment which was very notable, of course, because transmitting thought from earth to earth is practically difficult for normal people, and he, being a psychological person, he did it to space through the earth. Next fact is NASA quarantined astronauts of the first few moon missions. So what happened here? They were actually quarantined into a short room, okay, and that room, they when they landed on the sea, okay, they were directly taken to that room, and they were quarantined. They were told to remain in their same uh, clothes that they were having, and this quarantine was for 3 weeks. This was for ensuring that they had not brought any kind of germs or any kind of space germs, what we call them as, on the earth, okay, and because of that they were quarantined. And famously known incident from this is what Apollo 14 crew, they were quarantined in the Thanksgiving, okay, festival, and so they were given that special turkey dinner at that time, and to celebrate within themselves, of course. So they were quarantined for 3 weeks after they came on the earth, and this was done for initial missions like Apollo 11, 12, 13, and 14. And next, after that, they stopped doing this because they knew that moon actually did not have any kind of space germs, so this thing was actually stopped later. And the last fact is that Apollo 15's crew left a work of art on the moon. So this work of art is nothing but all those American astronauts who lost their life before the Apollo program, for Project Gemini, for Project Mercury, for even for Apollo. There were 14 astronauts who lost their life in this race, in this space race. Okay, and this was a small cart or a steel cart which was prepared, and it had names of all the 14 astronauts, and the 15th Apollo 15 crew it left it on the moon. So these were all the facts that were about the Apollo program, the whole Apollo program. And let's see what's next. Yeah, so as I promised, I will show you what's written on the moon backs cover that I built. So this was written, this is actually the copy of the same PDF which I am attaching in the description box, right? So this, from October 2018 through December 2022, NASA will mark 50th anniversary of Apollo program that landed a dozen of Americans on moon between July 1969 to December 1972. The arc to the word Apollo represents Earth's limb or horizon. As seen from a spacecraft, it serves as a reminder of how the first view of Earth from the moon, one of the NASA's crowning achievements, forever transformed the way we see ourselves as human beings. It also affirms NASA's intention to continue pushing the boundaries of knowledge and delivering on promise of American ingenuity and leadership in space. The original Apollo emblem, adopted by the program in 1965, which was shown in the very first slide, used a drawing of moon and earth linked by a double trajectory to portray President John F. Kennedy's goal, putting a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth by the end of 1960. In similar fashion, the Apollo 50th anniversary logo describes a contemporary goal. This logo, it is given on the band that was cut. I told you the stand that is cut for holding up the moon. It's given on that. In similar, then with images of moon and Mars filling the first and second zeros respectively, and phrase next giant leap beneath the word Apollo. Neil Armstrong declared his first step onto the lunar surface from the ladder of Eagle Lander on July 20, 1969, to be one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Today, NASA is working to return astronauts to moon to test techniques for the next giant leap, challenging mission to Mars and other destinations in deep space. So below there is a link that is given which you can also visit for some great pictures, of course, for great images, secret images behind Apollo programs, and they were actually real. Okay, it's actually given up by NASA Gov. So this is what was written on the moon that I built uh, a day ago, and I can say that yes, it is very much interesting. I want to actually emblem this on the wall. So I just actually want to keep this whole picture on the wall of my bedroom, so that every time we feel a bit nervous, every time we feel a bit very much lacking of energy, we could see this whole written thing, and we could celebrate the each and every failure that was faced by people like us. Okay, they are not different, they are just someone who have a great interest or great thinking to achieve something. They have a great desire to achieve something. So to celebrate them, let's see what's next. Yeah, so as said, you can see the first image on the top from the right. It is actually the food taken by Yuri Gagarin. The food means it was some sauces and very light food, of course. And nowadays during the space missions, the first picture from left on the top, that food is actually taken. Okay, the canned food, what we so call them as. So these are the food that is taken by the astronauts during their space missions. Okay, we have water which is enclosed in some kind of bag or the packet sachet, what we see them as. We have space ice cream. In space, the ice cream actually breaks into powder. Then we have this whole bunch of mail here down, left side corner down. We have the whole bunch of mail. Then also we have the first meal that was taken by Neil Armstrong, the middle picture on the top. Okay, this was the hand catching a packet. This was the whole picture taken by Neil Armstrong, right? So this all are the things eaten by astronauts in space, and this is the way it is. Fine. So this was actually, these images were taken from nasa.gov, images of Apollo. You can also fetch it out and you can also see that, but just be uh, just be sure you don't get some wrong information. On internet there are so many sites spreading wrong information about Apollo. Very recently we got a pic, I got a pic saying that the Apollo mission was fake. I don't think so, because we have multiple resources, we have multiple proofs, not only given by NASA but hundreds and thousands of people, and I don't think so they could be lying, right? So just my one advice is that you should trust what is true, right? So let's see what's next. Yeah, so here I am ending up this presentation, and I hope that you have liked this video, you liked the moon that I made. Also, I could like to add up that the moon that we made, we can actually add some kind of lightning to it by putting some nano or micro bulbs that we get which operate on batteries. We can just add it to it and it will actually glow up in night, in day also, but at night it will actually look very beautiful than ever. Also, I'm attaching all the links to the images, to the PDF, first of all, to the PDF who all want to make their own moon. Also, I'm attaching the link to some very interesting videos to the Apollo missions in the description box down. So I hope you have liked this presentation. Please do comment if I need some kind of improvement, and even if you want me to speak on some else topic related to moon. Okay, so have a great day, stay safe, and don't forget to love the moon. Bye.